The settlement alarm screamed across Aara's habitat just before dawn. She bolted upright, her hand instinctively reaching for the plasma rifle mounted beside her bed, but the two small forms curled against her chest stopped her mid-reach. "Shh, little ones," she whispered, though her heart hammered against her ribs. Kia and Thorn, the cubs, stirred, their luminescent eyes blinking open in the darkness. Their sleek, scaled bodies tensed, nostrils flaring as they caught a scent that made them whimper. Aara knew that smell, ozone, and copper. The musk of a Velcari Alpha Von had returned. 3 months ago, Aara had found the cubs abandoned in the wreckage of a downed Velcari scout ship, their distress calls echoing through the canyon like broken music. Protocol demanded she report them to xenobiology. The Velcari were apex predators. 8 of corded muscle, retractable claws, and a reputation for territorial violence that had sparked 2 interstellar incidents. Their young were considered dangerous even in infancy, but had looked into those terrified, gleaming eyes and saw something protocol couldn't quantify. Children scared, alone, and crying for someone who would never come. So she'd taken them home. Now, as Varane's roar shattered the morning silence, Aara understood the price of that choice. She moved to the window, the cubs pressing against her legs. Through the reinforced glass, she saw it, a massive Velcari warrior standing at the perimeter fence, its body covered in bioluminescent war markings that pulsed with each breath. Farron's crest was fully extended, a display of both aggression and something else. Desperation, perhaps. The colony's defense turrets had locked on, their targeting lasers painting red dots across Vaughn's chest. One word from Central Command and the Predator would be vapor. "Stand down," Aara said into her calm, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her throat. "I'm going out." "Negative," Aara Commander Reeves responded immediately. "That's a class of hostile. We have shoot-on-sight authorization. It's a parent looking for its children." Silence stretched across the channel. Aara didn't wait for permission. She sealed her environmental suit and stepped into the airlock, the cubs following despite her attempts to block them. "No, stay inside," she urged. But Kia slipped past her with eloquent grace all Velcari possessed. Thorn followed, chirping softly. When the outer door opened, the morning wind carried Vaughn's scent fully, and with it a wave of pheromones that spoke in chemical languages humans could never fully understand. But Aara had learned enough. Grief, determination, love. Vaughn's eyes locked onto the cubs, and something in the Predator's rigid posture broke. A sound emerged from its throat, not a roar, but a keening wail that made bones ache. The cubs didn't run forward. Instead, they pressed closer to Aara's legs, their own small growls vibrating against her suit. "They don't remember you," Aara said softly, though she knew Vaughn couldn't understand Standard. "It's been too long." But Vaughn took a step forward, lowering itself into a crouch that might have been submissive or might have been preparation to strike. The targeting lasers followed its movement. Aara raised her hand both to the defense turrets and to Vaughn. "Wait!" Ka hissed, a sound Aller had only heard when the cub protected Thorn from a territorial sand viper. The smaller cub echoed it, both of them positioning themselves between Aara and their biological parent. Von froze. The Predator's head tilted, confusion evident even across species barriers. It chirped, the same sounds Aara had taught herself to make. The feeding calls, the comfort sounds. The cub's ears flattened against their skulls. "I didn't stealth them," Mara said, knowing it was futile, knowing Vaughn couldn't comprehend. "I saved them, fed them, taught them to hunt in the simulator, sang them to sleep when they had nightmares about the crash." Vaughn's claws extended, gouging the hard-packed earth. The defense system swinded, charging. Commander Reeves was shouting in Aara's ear, demanding shear treat, but then Thorn did something unexpected. The smaller cub stepped forward, placing itself between Vaughn and Aara, and roared. It was a pitiful sound compared to an adult's battle cry, but the meaning was unmistakable. "No, you don't touch her." Kea joined its sibling, both cubs now facing down the massive predator that could have killed them with a single strike. They weren't defending territory. They were defending family. Baron's luminescence flickered, dimming. The predator rose slowly to its full height, towering over them all. For a moment, Aara was certain she'd miscalculated, that maternal instinct would override everything, that she and the cubs would die in the next heartbeat. But Vaughn didn't attack. Instead, the Velcari warrior did something that would later baffle every xenobiologist in the sector. It bowed. A deep, deliberate gesture that exposed its vulnerable throat, the ultimate sign of submission in Velcari culture. Then it reached into the salvage pack at its side and withdrew 3 objects. Memory crystals. Velcari heirlooms, each one glowing with captured light. It placed them on the ground and stepped back. Aara understood heritage, history, everything the cubs would need to know about their people, given freely so they could choose their own path. Baron Meter's eyes one last time. In that gaze, she saw an intelligence that protocol had always denied existed. She saw a parent making an impossible choice, releasing its children to someone who could give them something it couldn't. Safety, a future, love without the burden of a warrior's life. The Velcari warrior turned and vanished into the canyon, moving with the silence that made its species legendary. The defense systems tracked it until it disappeared beyond sensor range. Kia and Thorn rushed back to Aara, pressing against her with such force she nearly fell. She wrapped her arms around them both, feeling their rapid heartbeats gradually slow. "Commander," Aara said into her comm, her voice thick, adding 3 items to my personal effects log. Valericultural artifacts received as a gift. In the distance, Vaughn's final roar code across the colony. Not a threat, but a farewell, a blessing. Aara picked up the memory crystals, their weight somehow greater than physics could explain. She'd help the cubs understand these someday, would teach them about the parent who loved them enough to let them go. But for now, she simply held them close and whispered, "Let's go home." The cubs chirped their agreement, already racing back toward the habitat, toward the only home they truly remembered. Behind them, the sun crested the canyon walls, painting the alien sky in colors Earth had never known. And somewhere in the wilderness, a predator walked alone, carrying the ache of empty arms, but the peace of knowing its cubs were loved.